Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Ghostrick deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Braxton. And this deck is scary good, extremely consistent, and even includes some spicy tech cards in this build. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Braxton some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Ghostrick Siren. Ghostrick Siren is a definite 2-of in the build, and all of your Ghostrick monsters share a common effect that they cannot be normal summoned unless you control a Ghostrick monster, and once per turn, during your main phase, you can change this card into face down defense position, which is an amazing thing about your Ghostrick monsters, just to help you keep activating their effects as you flip them face up, which is super cool. This card also has the ability, if this card is normal summon or flip face up, you send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then if either of them were Ghostrick cards, you can apply one of these effects to add a Ghostrick spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or change one effect monster opponent controls to face down defense position, which is a really cool effect to either search a Ghostrick spell or trap to get the exact one you need, or use this card as a Book of Moon. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Jiangshi. Jiangshi is an amazing 3-of in this build because this card is a really cool ability that when this card is flipped face up, you can actually add from your deck to your hand 1 Ghostrick monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of Ghostrick monsters that you control, which is a great ability just to search out your Ghostrick monsters, because even if you just flip this card face up, you're going to get to search out a level 1 Ghostrick, which is amazing because we have a lot of level 1 Ghostricks in this build. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Mummy. I really like Mummy as a 2-of in the build because this card actually gives you an additional normal summoner set of a Ghostrick monster, which is a great ability for this card to have just to help you swarm the board. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Fairy. I feel like 2 is really good in this build because this card helps out a lot in the deck because it has a really amazing ability that once per turn you can change this card into face down defense position, but it has the ability that when this card is flipped face up, you can target a Ghostrick card in your grave and set that card but banish it when it leaves the field. Then you can change face up monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position up to the number of set cards that you control, which can be quite a lot, to just basically Book of Eclipse your opponent while also recovering a card. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Doll. Ghostrick Doll is an amazing 2-of in the deck. I only feel like you need 2 copies of this card, but it's crazy powerful, which is why I love playing this card in the deck. It's really helpful. We then play a single copy of Ghostrick Nico Mizumi. This card is a really awesome card that I've been playtesting recently, and I really like this card in the deck because it has an amazing ability that when a level 4 or higher monster is normal or special summon, change that monster to face down defense. Then there must be another Ghostrick monster on the field to activate and resolve this effect. But that's a really cool ability that if your opponent puts a monster on their side of the field that's a level 4 or higher, it just immediately flips it face down, which is super cool about this card. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Lantern. Ghostrick Lantern is a really good 3-of in this build because this card helps out a lot to protect you from attacks, which is just amazing because when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, or when a Ghostrick monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand and face down defense position, which is great because your field spell actually lets your opponent attack you directly, making this card live to protect you from attacks, which is just really cool, while also helping you swarm the board. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Mary. Ghostrick Mary is one of the best cards in the entire build because when you take damage, you can discard this card to special summon a Ghostrick monster from your deck and face down defense position, essentially giving you access to any Ghostrick monster that you want, which is why you see a lot of 1 and 2-ofs in this build because this card helps you get to those cards. We then play a single copy of Jack Frost. Jack Frost is super helpful in this build as a 1-of, but I only feel like you need a single copy of this card to combo with your copies of Lantern, because this card has the ability when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can change that opponent's monster to face down defense position. Then, if you do, special summon this card from your hand and face down defense position, which is a pretty cool ability, but it doesn't work on Link monsters, which is why I just play this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Ghostrick Spectre, which is actually my favorite Ghostrick for the artwork alone. I love this card, and definitely comment down below what your favorite Ghostrick monster is. My favorite is actually Spectre because of its artwork. It's always happy, and I just absolutely love the tongue sticking out. It's just so cool. But this card is really funny because it has the ability when a Ghostrick monster is destroyed by an opponent's card effect or by battle while with their attacking monster and sent to the grave, you can special summon this card from your hand in face down defense, and if you do, draw a card, which is a pretty good ability if you don't have your field spell on the field and one of your Ghostricks gets destroyed, which is why you just play a single copy of this card. Plus, it's my favorite, so I wanted to play it as one of. We then play 3 copies of Parallel XZ. Parallel XZ is amazing in this build as a 3 of because you do have actually a Link 1, which is crazy that we actually have a Link 1 to be able to make in this deck, so you can special summon out your copy of Parallel XZ extremely easily in this build because basically you just make the Link 1 by summoning out any Ghostrick in face down defense position. And the cool thing about the Link 1 is you can use a face down Ghostrick monster as the material to summon it out to your side of the field. So when you Link summon it to your side of the field, you just special summon a Parallel XZ to the field, special summon another Parallel XZ from the deck. They'll both come out as level 4 with 1000 attack and 1000 defense to just give you more monsters on your side of the field to make rank 4 plays or go in for some really awesome XZ plays. We then play 2 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Lord of the Heavenly Prison is insane in this deck, especially against Unchained, which is why I dropped the copies of Trap Trick for this card, because this card has the ability during your main phase, you can activate this effect that this card in your hand becomes revealed into the end of your opponent's turn, and then while this card is revealed by this effect, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects, protecting all of your set Ghostrick monsters and all of your set spells and traps, which is insane, but also against decks like Unchained that would pop their own spells and traps with their effects. This card actually stops them from doing that, which is why I play this card as a 2-of. This card also gives us access to literally any spell or trap we want in the deck, which is amazing, and this card is a definite 2-of in the build. Again, did drop Trap Trick for this card, and it's super helpful in this deck just to give you protection, but also give you a really big boss monster that you can summon to your side of the field, because it does come out at 3000. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Ghostrick Parade. Parade is an awesome field spell in the deck because monsters cannot attack face down defense position monsters, but they can attack directly if all monsters their opponent control are in face down defense position, which will let your opponent attack directly, but it's really good in this particular build because it has a great effect that your opponent takes no damage, but when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can add a Ghostrick card from your deck to your hand, which is not a once per turn effect. So every time your opponent declares an attack, you get to add a card, which is great about this card to be able to instantly get the exact cards that you need, especially being able to search out cards like Lantern to protect yourself, or if you already have a Lantern, it does help out a lot. So this card is a definite 2-of in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Mansion. Mansion's really good in this deck as a 2-of because monsters cannot attack face down defense position monsters, but they can attack directly if all monsters that their opponent controls are in face down defense position, and all effect damage and their battle damage inflicted by other cards other than Ghostrick monsters is halved, making it so our opponent takes full damage, but we only take half, which is really good to be able to do in this particular build so that we can go in for game. We then play 3 copies of one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Ghostrick Shot. This card is so good. This card has the ability to let you special summon a Ghostrick monster from your hand or graveyard. Then you can change one face down defense position monster, one face down Ghostrick monster that you control to face up attack position, which is a great ability. I love that about this card that you can basically summon out any Ghostrick XZ monster, make an Angel of Mischief, detach a material, search out this card, and then activate your copy of Ghostrick Shot to be able to reborn whatever XZ monster you detach from Angel of Mischief, and then make a second Angel of Mischief to be able to make your copy of F-Zero and then your topic Future Draco. So essentially, if you can make any Ghostrick XZ, you can make an F-Zero, which is insane about this card. I absolutely love this card in the deck because it also has the ability you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Ghostrick XZ you control, and attach one Ghostrick card from your graveyard to that monster as a material, which is a crazy powerful effect. This card is a definite 3-of in the deck, and it's one of those powerful cards in the build. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're going to start off with a single copy of Ghostrick Knight. Ghostrick Knight basically says if it's flipped face down, it has to stay face down, which is amazing because while a Ghostrick monster is on the field, your opponent cannot flip summon while they're on the field. And then when this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the grave, your opponent cannot declare attacks for the rest of the turn, giving you some protection. This card is super easy to get to and basically keeps your opponent's monsters face down. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick or Treat. It is that time of year and this card is amazing in the deck. I absolutely love this card in this build. This card helps out a lot in the deck overall because basically it just stops your opponent in their track. Because if you control a Ghostrick field spell or a Ghostrick link monster, you can target a face-up monster that your opponent controls and your opponent can pay 2,000 life points to make this effect become set this card instead of sending it to the graveyard after activation. Otherwise, for the rest of this turn, that face-up monster cannot attack and its effects are negated. Also, it's changed to face-down defense position during the end phase, which is a really good effect to be able to use with this card. Plus, it's searchable, which is why we just play 2 copies. We then play 3 copies of Destructive Durama Karma Cannon. I actually dropped the copies of Needle Sealing because I feel like Needle Sealing is not quite as good this format. With this card is a lot better because it changes as many monsters on the field as possible to face-down defense position. Then, if either player controls a face-up monster, they must send them to the graveyard, which affects the player, not the actual card. So you can out cards that are unaffected by all card effects because this card affects the player, not the card, which is really cool ruling about this card. And I absolutely love this card in the deck because it works for not only us, but it works for our opponent where it flips all our cards face down to be able to work for us a lot better, which is really cool to be able to flip our Ghostricks face down so we can get their effects off later. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Scare. Ghostrick Scare is also one of the most powerful cards in the deck outside of your copy of Ghostrick Shot, because this card lets you target any number of face-down defense position monsters that you control, change them to face-up defense position, count the number of Ghostrick monsters among them, which will all be Ghostricks, and if you do, change that many face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position, which is a great effect to be able to flip your opponent's cards face down while flipping ours face up to make our Ghostrick monsters go off, which is super cool about this card. It can interrupt your opponent if you know they're about to try and link summon, fusion summon, XZ summon, synchro summon, whatever kind of summon, and they're going in for a play. You can flip this card up and stop them right in their tracks. This card is almost in this deck better than D-Barrier because it interrupts your opponent and just stops them in their tracks. I love that about this card, and it's so good to be able to flip our cards face up, and it works better for us than D-Barrier because it just flips our cards face up and basically flips our opponent's face down, basically being like a copy of Book of Eclipse that is searchable in this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Ghostrick Angel of Mischief. This card is amazing. You can overlay this card on top of any Ghostrick XZ monster, which is how we make our copy of F-Zero with 2 of these cards, and has a really cool ability. You can detach a material on this card to add a Ghostrick spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be Ghostrick Shot unless you already have it. Now, the way you actually do the play with this card is you actually make a copy of, say, like an Alucard on your side of the field, then make this on top of it, detach the Alucard from this card, activate Ghostrick Shot to bring back the copy of Alucard, then make a second copy of this card on top of the Alucard you just brought back with Ghostrick Shot, then overlay them both for an F-Zero, and then you topic Draco Future, which is super cool. This card is a definite 2-of in the build, and helps out a lot in this particular deck. It's also a win condition, but you're never going to get that win condition off. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Alucard, which we do have the 2 ultimate rares, which definitely give us a like for that. This card is amazing because it has the ability that your opponent cannot target other Ghostrick monsters or any face-down defense position monsters for attacks. You can also detach a material on this card and target a set card your opponent controls and destroy that target, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card, just to be able to pop cards that are face down. We then play a single copy of So Cute Boss. So Cute Boss is just a 1-of in the build. You don't make it all that often, but it's a great 1-of in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Dullahan. Dullahan is amazing because this card has a really cool ability. This card gains 200 attack for each Ghostrick card that you control, and once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, then target a face-up monster on the field, half its attack until the end of the turn. And it also has the ability, if this card is sent to the grave, you can target one other Ghostrick card in your grave and add that target to your hand, which is a great ability for this card to have. We can play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is great in this build just to be able to shut down your opponent's graveyard. Play a single copy of Assembled Nightingale. We can make this card very easily in this build. Then we make a copy of Downer Magician on top of it, which we can make Downer on top of any of these cards except for Abyss Dweller, which is amazing, so we can get Zeus and additional material. We play a single copy of F-Zero Utopic Future, so we can make our copy of Utopic Draco Future, which is basically a walking negate for the deck. Again, very easy to make. You make your copy of Utopic F-Zero first with your copy of your Angel of Mischief, and then you make Utopic Draco Future next, which is again very easy to do, and it's a great card in this build. We then play a single copy of Double A Zeus because look at all these XZs. We can make this card super easy, and it's just amazing to be able to board wipe the field. Then finally play 2 copies of Ghostrick Festival. Festival is great in this deck because you can use any non-link Ghostrick monster to make this card, and you also use a face-down defense position Ghostrick monster you control as a material to link summon this card. And while a Ghostrick card is in the field spell zone, which we play 4 total field spells in the deck, your Ghostrick monsters can attack directly, which is great to help us just go in for game. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can tribute this card to special summon a Ghostrick monster from your deck in face-down defense position, giving you access to literally any Ghostrick you want in the deck, which is amazing. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Ghostrick before, you should definitely give this deck a try, especially with how easy it is to make cards like F-Zero and just flip all your opponent's monsters face down. It's one of my favorite flip effect decks to play because it's just absolutely crazy. It does go into the grind game, but it's really fun to play. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.